Here we go. Transactional analysis. Gosh, we don't talk about this very much. It is not something that we hear about a lot. There's a lot of good things in TA. So to start, Eric Byrne is the creator of transactional analysis, and I will tell you, it's important to read this chapter and it's important to understand it because I remember several questions on the NCE from my own time. They never covered this when I was in my master's program. I didn't even really know what transactional analysis was. But thankfully, because of the Rosenthal book, I actually did know what it was. Closing the door because you can hear Paw Patrol in the background. So, okay, I'm closing that. Um, this ego state, the parent and the child, etc. There were several questions. I say several, but three or four on that. And I remember never hearing about it and then read it in the purple book when I studied. So I got them right. I knew them. I was so excited. And every question counts. So knowing this and understanding it means you right now may understand how to get a couple questions right. So it was born out of psychoanalysis, but Eric wasn't very happy. Eric Byrne was not very happy with the way that psychoanalysis did not help people solve problems. So he parted and devoted himself to write a new theory and practice of TA, transactional analysis. He concluded that we have ego states, and he would see an ego state emerge that was correlated to childhood experiences. And you know, Dr. Beal, I love that internal family systems, and I do a lot of this work. So this makes a lot of sense to me. And also to grown-up ego states, right? He postulated that there were two grown-ups. One that was a copy of the person's parents. I see this a lot. That was the parent ego state. And the other, which was the rational part of the person, which is the adult ego. So now you know the definition of those two. One of his big contributions is his perspective on how young children developed a personal plan for their life known as a life script. Oh, gosh, sorry, I'm getting like an email right there. All right, keep going here. He died when he was 60 of heart attack. So transactional analysis is a theory of personality, a language of behavior, and an organized system of interactional therapy. It's grounded on the assumption that we can make current decisions based on our early experiences. The goal is to have awareness, spontaneity, and the capacity for intimacy. In transactional analysis in a group, the first key point is to make sure there's awareness, which is, again, that self-awareness, that we are aware in the process of changing our ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving. The techniques are aimed at increasing awareness. So in the initial stages of group, that's what's happening. It's really suited for groups, and Byrne believed that group therapy yielded information about a personal plan for life much more than individual therapy. So there's also interactional and contractual approach. Okay, sorry, I have to keep getting off to like handle stuff. So I'm back. Here are those key concepts. This is really what you need to know because this is what's going to be on the exam. But that basic trio of parent, adult, and child ego states, that's really the premise of TA. An ego state is a set of related thoughts, feelings, and behavior which are part of an individual's personality is manifested at a given time. The transactional analysis says we're constantly shifting from ego states. You hear me talking about that all the time. Different parts of our personalities, we're shifting states. We operate from the ego state that has the most energy and make decisions from that ego state. One definition of autonomy is the capacity to move with agility and intention through those states. And guys, I hope this makes sense to you because you've heard me talk a lot about this. I use this in therapy all the time. I don't know that I'm using transactional analysis, but I guess that I'm pretty cool. I guess I am. I didn't know much about it till I started reading the chapter for you guys. I actually don't remember teaching this. I don't even think we covered this in the fall. I'm not so sure that it was in our textbook. I don't think it was. Um, anyway, this is really important, and it is completely proven that in the brain we do shift ego states. So based on some of the recent research we've uncovered. So not me, but you know, people smarter than me. So we shift through these ego states, which are really held in right brain in the emotional limbic area of the brain. So when we are triggered, we can revert back to a childlike state. And then the more autonomous you are, the more self-aware you are, the more that you are aware, oh, I just got really upset, or I just shut down. I must have gotten into my kid's space. The awareness and to being autonomous about being able to shift yourself back to the adult, etc. Okay. So this parent is almost mm, in different theories, this would be when we take on the characteristics of our parents. So it's expressed in a critical or nurturing behavior. It's experienced as old parental messages that influence the inner child. When we're in the parent ego state, we react as if our parents may have reacted, and you imagine that could be really toxic or not. The parent contains all the shoulds and oughts of the rules for living, and it's divided into the nurturing parent and the controlling parent. The adult is the objective computer-like part of the brain, and you guys see where Freud's influence came in, but how it's also very different. It's more interactive and more egalitarian and more behaviorally focused than psychoanalysis, right? But you see these ego states as coming from Freud here. Um, so this is kind of the mediator, right? The adult is the thinking state oriented toward current reality. They're objective, non-emotional. So really the adult's left brain. Get it? So, but poor Burton, I mean, there was no brain imaging before he died. He'd probably be really interested in what's happening today and say, hey, guess what? These things were true. You were on the right track. And the child is the original part of us, and there are also multiple children usually, and the most naturally who we are. It's part of ourselves we use to form long-lasting relationships, and you can see how that might be maladaptive or adaptive, depending on what you were taught as a child. And the need for strokes. A stroke is an act of recognition or source of stimulation. Um, as we grow and develop, and we need to be recognized. Strokes, psychological strokes, right? We need to be, our ego needs to be stroked. That's where stroke the ego came from. So, but we get negative strokes. I don't like it when you use my computer without asking. Stop it right there. Don't go out in the street until I get to the curb and take your hand. Negative strokes are considered preferable to no strokes at all. That is being ignored. We are all familiar with instances when children's actions elicit negative strokes from parents. Let's see. Well, just read this. I'm not going to go through all this. And then we have the injunctions and the counter injunctions. When parents feel threatened by a child's behavior, the messages expressed are often injunctions. They're issued from the parent's own child ego state. You know, I see this play out all the time. We get triggered by our children when we haven't dealt with our own issues from our childhood. So this is really quite interesting for me. Establishes the don'ts by which children learn to live. Don't be this. Don't be close. Don't be separate. Don't be the sex you are. Don't. These are predominantly given non-verbally and between birth and 7, which is where your core memories are formed when you're doing EMDR and you float back from the negative belief to the earliest time. It's usually around that time. So kudos to to Byrne here and Mary Goulding, which is the in the injunctions and counter injunctions. She's got a quote here. And then counter injunctions. When parents observe sons or daughters not succeeding or not being comfortable with who they are, they attempt to counter the effect with counter injunctions in the ought and the should. Be perfect, try hard, hurry up, be strong, please me, be careful. And is that no matter how much we try to please, we feel as though we're not doing enough or being enough. This demonstrates the rule that the messages given at the psychological level are far more powerful and enduring than those at the social level. We explore as a group member or leader the shoulds and shouldn'ts and do's and don'ts of which we have been trained to live by. Okay. And then you've got decisions and redecisions and games. Basically, you are making decisions and then redecisions about those injunctions and counter injunctions you received in childhood, and that would be one of your therapeutic goals. Games. A game is an ongoing series of transactions that end with a negative payoff called for by the script that concludes the game and advances feelings such as anger, depression, or guilt. The basic nature of the game is to get negative strokes and reinforce the script. Games serve the function of preventing intimacy. There are three elements, a series of complementary transactions that on the surface seem plausible. There are three roles to game participants: persecutor, rescuer, and victim. For example, people who've decided that they are helpless may play some version of poor me or kick me. A student who loses or forgets her homework for the second time this week and makes the announcement publicly in class. The teacher gets angry and the student takes the payoff and gets paid attention in the process. People who feel superior may either persecute or rescue. The persecutor plays some form of gotcha or blemish, looking for the flaw. Read through this. It's pretty interesting. It makes a lot of sense and probably help you, and especially I think as an individual therapist, to conceptualize some of the things that are going on that you may not have heard described this way before. Then we have basic life positions. So basic life positions are made up of the result of childhood experiences, all of which determine how people feel about themselves and how they relate to others. So I'm okay, you're okay is game free. It's a belief that people have basic value, worth, and dignity. People are okay and not necessarily their behavior. Trust, openness, willingness to give and take. People are close to themselves and others. No losers, no winners. The next one is I'm okay, you're not okay. So this is a game that reinforces the position that you're superior. I'm not okay, you're okay. Depressive position, powerless, kick me, I'm a martyr, etc. I'm not okay, you're not okay. Futility and despair. So these are great to understand, and this is really true. It's not usually said that way, but that is usually the case when people are coming in. We're trying to get them to I'm okay, you're okay, right? That's our goal. Life scripts and script analysis. Life script is developed early in life as a result of parental teaching, with those injunctions, counter injunctions, the early decisions we make. Among these decisions is selecting the basic psychological position or dramatic role that we play in our life script. Script analysis is when group members help become aware of how they've acquired their life script and see more clearly their life role. Script analysis will help you to see the ways in which you feel compelled to play out the life script and have alternative choices. Again, guys, probably the most important thing is to know that parent, adult, child, and the definitions of these ego states. Memorize that, and so that when you see TA and when you see Eric Byrne, you'll see those things on the NCE, maybe the CPCE. So just make sure you know those. I don't know. I would be familiar with the different terms from this chapter, mainly for that, not because I'm going to ask you. I'm going to probably ask you these three questions on your quiz right here, because I want you to know that. I also want to know if this is ever going to end. I'm sure you're wondering the same. I'm trying to do this one short. That we need strokes. We receive, and that's the negative and positive strokes. Okay? The strokes can be classified as verbal or nonverbal, unconditional or conditional, positive or negative. I already read that. We already talked about injunctions. Of course, we talked about the way that we explore these in group. These rules, as you will say, that we were taught. And what are we going to make a new decision about them? Are we going to redecide to have a new rule, right? Become our own person, making new decisions. And this is a big part of therapy. We learn things incorrectly in childhood and into adulthood. And then we think we have to believe a certain way. And a therapist helps us to figure out that we don't have to do that anymore. We can be ourselves. I've talked about games already. I went over all this, so I'm not gonna. I did that, okay? Basic decisions. I already did all that. Look at that. You teach them structural script and game analysis. Equality is emphasized. See, this is a big segue from Freud. If you had to do a comparison of him and Freud, the leader helps members discover how their games support chronic bad feelings, which support their life script. Challenge members to discover and experiment with new ways of being. And the stages of group are very much like something you would see in today with a therapeutic alliance, a contract. Um, Once you've got trust and cohesion, you're moving forward into the analysis of the gains and the different messages, injunctions that early decisions and injunctions are explored. And then you're going to the redecision phase here in the final stage. Contracts. We already talked about that. Therapeutic contract. Do I need to say more about that? Transactional analysis is largely based on the willingness of group to understand and design a contract that requires to state their intentions and personal goals. Contracts are key to all TA treatment, and this is more current. So you would want to make sure that everyone is involved. That contract becomes specific and measurable, has concrete statements of objectives for group participants, how they can attain their goals. You all have to be on equal footing, and you have the short-term contract for this group. It's very structured. I think multicultural, okay, it's very structured and could be used in schools. Much to offer in multicultural. I think it could be very user-friendly for many cultures, very gender sensitive. You're really looking at the life script, which is rooted in culture. So it's going to be really great for that. Oh, I really hope one of you do picked this one. That would be neat. Um, there's a lot of contributions, cognitive basis for groups that's missing in experientially oriented groups, help members free themselves from old life scripts, archaic life scripts, and egalitarian power. Um, can work well in managed care and structured groups. This has not been adequately validated. So this is why you don't hear much about this. I never hear about transactional analysis, although I think it's really cool and makes a lot of sense. So it's kind of gotten cast to the side, I would imagine. Structure vocab could get you lost and it might be too simplistic. I did it. 17 minutes. Done.